Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, SAP with IK. Hope you're all doing good. So today's topic will be on the capacity leveling and also the capacity planning. So in this topic, we are going to discuss on what are the parameters that basically play a major role in performing the capacity planning of a particular work center or a resource, and also how do we evaluate the load on the work center or the capacity when these are actually used in the planned orders or the production orders. So we will also get to know what are the configurations that are involved in order to perform a capacity planning, and what options do we have to level the particular capacity, and also see the options like dispatching when we use the transactions such as CM25, CM02, and CM01. So let's get started. So let's take an example with a finished product, and let's go to the transaction MD04 and let's pick a finished product and look at the stock statistics. So here we do have a few independent requirements, sales orders, and also production orders that were already released in the past. So I'm going to navigate down to one production order, maybe that is created in the recent times. So here we have this production order ending with 200. So if we go into the details of this production order, you know that we will have the set of operations that are to be executed in a sequence. So all these operations are basically scheduled based on the detailed scheduling coming from the planned order. So when we talk about the detailed scheduling, let me just give you a brief intro about that. So when we run MRP for the finished product, here in the scheduling mode, we do have two options available, right? One is to determine the scheduling based on the basic dates, and the second option is to perform the lead time scheduling and also to execute the capacity planning. So in order to have the planned orders with the additional view, so let me show you one planned order. So if we take one planned order from this list and go to the display mode, so here we have this additional tab for the detailed scheduling. So this tab, it basically appears when we execute MRP with the option of detailed scheduling, but not the basic dates. Okay, so I'm going to run this MRP now with the determination of basic dates and show you how this actually works in updating the planned orders. So I'm going to run MRP with the scheduling option as the scheduling option as 1 with the basic dates, and the planning mode I'm going to use option 3 to delete and recreate the planning data. So yeah, so the MRP list, it basically says that we have a new plan orders created, and if we go back to the MD04 and do a refresh, we see a new set of planned orders. So if I go into the details of this planned order, we cannot see that detailed scheduling tab anymore now, right? We only see the 3 tabs. So that tab, it basically appears, like I said, if you use the basic, the lead time scheduling option. So I'm going to use the lead time scheduling and then rerun MRP. So now we can see that the plan orders got updated. So let me go back one step and refresh. The planned order numbers actually didn't change. Why? Because I have not used the option to delete and recreate the planned orders, right? So now I'm going to the details of these planned orders, and now we can see we have a detailed scheduling tab where we can see the start date and the end date of these operations that are part of the manufacturing process, and also that has the work centers associated with the capacities that are part of the capacity planning. So now if we go into the details of this particular work center, so let me go to the work center in the transaction CR03. So I'll take the first work center assembly. So in the capacity tab or the view of the work center, we basically maintain the capacity categories that are part of the work center. So here we can have two different capacity categories. It could be a machine and it could also be a person who is part of this particular work center assembly. But for now, I've just created one capacity category as a machine for 001. So if I go into the details of this machine capacity category, we can see that the factory calendar assigned to it is basically the US factory calendar. So the scheduling or the availability of the capacities in this particular capacity category will be based on the factory calendar that has been assigned over here. So the work days, the holidays, and also the non-working days that will be applicable into the capacity planning based on the factory calendar that we assign it over here. Okay, and then the capacity base unit here it shows as in minutes, which means that the total duration it is basically calculated in the form of minutes. So if you need something to be in hours or maybe in seconds, you can also change the base unit of measure for the capacity over here. And then we have the start time and the end time that also includes your length of breaks. So these times they basically uh, are used in calculating the available capacity of that particular capacity category. So here the start time is at 7 a.m. and the end time is at 4 p.m. with a break of 1 hour. So the operating time it is basically of 8 hours, right? And now coming to the utilization of the capacity, we can define like how efficiently we are using this particular work center in our shop floor activities. So here we define it as 100% of utilization. And then we also have the number of individual capacities is 1. So here the calculation for the available capacity it shows as 480 minutes. Okay. So this 480 minutes is basically calculated in the minutes, which is our base unit of the capacity, right? So it is calculated in such a way that the total operating time multiplied by the number of individual capacities. So here the total operating time is 8 hours, right? So since we have the base unit as in minutes, so this 8 hours is basically multiplied by 60 minutes, and that gives us the uh, value of 480 minutes. And let's say we have like the number of individual capacities as 2. So then the capacity availability, I mean the total capacity would be 480 into 2, right? So that would be 960 minutes, which is the total capacity of this particular work center. And also the capacity category 001. And then we need to make sure that if this work center and the capacity should be part of the planning, then we need to make sure we have the relevant to finite scheduling indicator checked in. And also, if you want to use the same capacity category or the resource into several operations in the same routing, then you should also activate this particular indicator for the can be used by several operations, yes or no. And also you have to activate the long-term planning if you want to use it in the long-term planning scenarios. Okay, so this is a brief intro about the work center capacities. And here in the capacity tab, we define the formulas on how to calculate the requirements for the setup and also the processing time. So these are pretty much the standard formulas. So if you want to take a look at this formula, you have to just click on this and then click on this icon to display the formula, which gives you the formula behind it. And if you also want to have your own customized formula, you can very well create a formula key in the configuration and define your calculation parameters over here. So once we define these the capacity parameters and also the availability of the capacity category, good to start with the capacity planning. So now here in this example where we have a planned order which has 4 operations with 4 different or maybe 4 work centers. So each of these work centers have their own start date, the start time, end date, and the end time. So the end date and end time are basically calculated based on the total duration of the operation. Okay, if we just scroll it to the right side, we could see the total capacity requirements required in this first operation, and similarly the second operation, the third, and the fourth one. So based on this, the end date is basically calculated, and also the end time is calculated as part of the detailed scheduling. So now let's play with this planned order. Maybe we just change this or maybe convert the planned order to a production order. So I'm going to convert this into a production order. So here we are trying to manufacture 1100 pieces, and my scheduling is in the backward mode. So now if I go into the details of this particular operation, so if I just open the details of this operation 10, and in the standard values I could see that to manufacture 100 pieces I would need a setup time of 30 minutes, machine time of 10 minutes, and labor time of 10 minutes. So to create a capacity overload to demonstrate in the capacity planning and also to perform the leveling, I will actually increase the values, let's say from 30 to 300, and from 100 I'll make it to 200, and for the labor I'll make it to 300. So we have actually increased the total duration of this particular operation. Okay, so now I'm going to schedule the order accordingly. So go back to the right. So in this screen we can see that the dates have been updated. So the start date, it is 31st of October, and the end date is now 7th of November, right? So again, this is based on the increased standard values that we just updated. In the same way, I'm going to increase the lead time of the second operation for the testing work center. I'm going to do the same. So here I'm going to put 150, and here I'll make it 200, and here I'll make it 300. Okay, and then schedule the order. Go back, and now we can see that the dates are again adjusted proportionally based on the availability of the work centers and the capacities in those particular time frames. So now the start date is on 7th of November, and the end is on 14th of November, and then the third operation, it starts on 14th and it ends on 15th. So let's use these two work centers for now, the assembly and also the testing work centers. So now I'm going to save this, and we have the production order number 201 ending with 201 created. Yeah. So now being a part of the shop floor, the production planner or the production supervisor, he would like to see a list of capacities or the orders that he has on that particular day to be executed. So let's say I'm going to use the transaction CM02, and here I will just, let's say I am responsible for the work center assembly, or maybe you can also assign a capacity planner group under the capacity category, so that that particular planner group will be responsible to manage a set of work centers under him, right? So for now I'm going to use the work center and then click on the standard overview. So now in the output we can see that the display is in the form of weeks, where we can see the requirements and the available capacity and the capacity load and the remaining available capacity. So these rows that you see in the red color highlighted, these are basically overloaded, right? But because the capacity load is now 150%, whereas the capacity load that we have updated in the work center is only to take it for 100%, right? So now it is beyond its limit. So that is the reason we have the overloads mentioned over here. So now if I go into the details of this particular week, maybe just double click, or you can also select this particular row and click on this icon, so that it shows you a complete list of pegged requirements, such as the planned orders, the production orders, or maybe the process orders in this particular week of week 44 in the year 2023. So here we can see that the production order that we created ending with 201, it has created a requirement of 1100 pieces where it needs 32 hours of this particular capacity category 001, the machine, right, which has the earliest start date as 3110 and the finish date as 7/11/2023. So this is now creating an overload, right? In the same way, if we go to the second overload row, which is week 46, go into the details of it. So here we can see there are two picked requirements. One is the planned order and the other one is the production order ending with 200, which again has created an overload with the requirement quantities, and also we see the required hours. Okay. So now we came to know that we have an overload in these two periods. So what we do is basically use the transaction CM25 to basically level this particular overload situation. Okay. So whenever you open the transaction CM25, this particular pop-up screen enables, it basically pops up where you can choose your overall profile. So since we are in the discrete manufacturing process and we have used the production orders, so we need to use the profile that basically has this SFC in it, right, for the shop floor control. So I'm going to use the first one, which is a graphical. So now it is giving me a few options to select my work centers, the plants, and also the capacity category, and also the capacity responsible planner, right? And here we do have an option to change the time profile, which means that, so how long should we go into the future, and how long should we go into the past in order to look at the capacities. So here my evaluation period is for 2 months. So it is in minus 2 months, means we are going into the past, and the finish date is 4 months to the future, which means it is 29th of Feb 2024. And similarly for the planning period as well, the start date is 1 month past and the finish date is 3 months to the future. Okay. So I'm fine with what it has by default. So I'm going to execute the capacity leveling, and here we can see, so here we have two categories. One is the orders in pool, which means that they are still in line to be processed, and on the top we do have the work centers, which has the dispatched orders into it. Okay, so now let's see how to move these operations over here. So if you just expand your left side screen where you see the orders, so the orders, it basically shows the list of production orders and planned orders that are basically planned in this particular period based on our time profile, and also the work center that is basically associated to these planned orders and production orders. So here we can see our production order ending with 201, which has our operation 10 and the work center assembly, and where we can also see the operation requirement quantity and also the total processing time and the start date and end date. Okay, so let me drag it a bit more. Yeah, I think this is it. Okay, so now, so here the requirement shows in the week of 44. So if I just double click on this particular box, it navigates me to the production order, which is what we just created. So now the start is basically on the 31st of October and the end is basically the 16th of November. Okay, so there are two ways where we can actually dispatch this particular operation, or maybe we can level the available capacities. So one is that we basically select this particular the box that we see here, and based on the availability of the work center, you can actually move it to a different period. So let's say I would like to move this from the CW, it basically stands for the capacity week, so the calendar week. So this CW44, it can actually move to CW47. Let's say we have a possible availability of the capacity on that particular week of 47. So then we can move it from here to here. But to move that, we have to execute a function called as a dispatch. So the dispatch option, it basically deallocates the work center and the capacity from its original period, and it moves it into the period to which we have actually selected it manually. Okay, that is one option. And the other option is to increase your capacity of the work center. So let's say I increase the capacity. So for that, I have this option to change the capacity. Why? Because we are just talking about the capacity category 001, right? Which is our machine. So I'm going to select this and click on the capacity. So now it navigates me directly to the capacity category. Here I can increase the capacity utilization, or maybe I can introduce another machine into this particular work center. So right now I only have one machine which has a capacity utilization of 480 minutes. Sorry, a capacity availability of 480 minutes. So now I'm going to increase the count of my machines. I'm making it to 2, which means that my capacity availability is also doubled, right? So once I change it to 2, so automatically the capacity is also increased to 960. So with the increase in the capacity, I should see a decrease in the overload, right? Over here. So let's do that. So I'm going to make this as 2, and I'm also extending the end time of from 4 p.m. till 23, so which is around 11 p.m., right? So which makes my operating time to be as 15 hours in a day, right? So I can increase the productivity, and my capacity utilization is 100%, and number of individual capacities is again 2. So accordingly, the the capacity is calculated to 1800 minutes in a particular day. So I'm going to go back. Okay, this is fine. And now click on save. So please note that we just adjusted the capacity, but we have not performed the dispatch option. So if I go to CM02 again, where I can see my capacity planning, and refresh this. So now you can see that we have a green light, or maybe the overload percentage has been reduced in this particular period, right? So we are below the available capacity percentage, which is now 42%, right? So in the same way, let's go to CM25 again and take a look at the dispatch option. So again, I'm using the work center assembly, right? So before this, I would like to show you the date of the production order. So in the operations, we could see the start date as 31/10/2023. So now I'll perform the dispatching. So this is the first operation. So select this particular box and click on dispatch option, so that this box is supposed to be transferred to the work center area. So click on dispatch. So this icon is basically used to dispatch the particular capacity into the work center in this particular week. And the other option that you see here with the down arrow is to deallocate it. So here I'm going to select this box which is already assigned in this period, but because I assume that this is not a priority for me, so it can wait actually. So I'm going to deallocate it from my capacity. So now it came back, and we can see the details of the order, which ends with 200. Okay. So now the dispatching is done. So now I would like to move it from week 44 to week, let's say I'll keep it week 46, somewhere in between week 46. Okay. Now it tells me that you have to look into the planning log. So you click on this icon which shows you the planning log. So in the planning log, we see the production order for which we have actually dispatched. And now the dates to which we have dispatched is 13/11/2023, which is our week 46. So if I go back to the production order, I could see that the start date is on 31st of October, right? But now after dispatching, we see the new dates being updated. But we are not yet done. So we need to save this particular transaction or the change in dates. Okay. So once the CM25 is saved, so now I go back to the production order and do a refresh in MD04. Okay. So here we can see a change now if I go into the operations. So here it says that the start date is on 13th of November. The same thing I should see in my operation list as well. So it shows that the start date is on 13th of November, and you also can see the system status as DSPT. So DSPT, it basically stands for the dispatched or maybe scheduled for the ease of understanding. So it means that this has been actually dispatched by the planner manually. Okay. So let's say I want to dispatch. Okay, let me take, let's refresh this CM02 as well for the capacity planning, and we should see a change in these particular figures. Okay, refresh. So now you can see we have a complete, we do not see any more overloads, right? Why? Because in the week 46, earlier we had this order ending with 200, which has created an overload. So now that has been moved, deallocated from the work center capacity or the pool. So that's the reason we do not find it any overloads situation at the moment. In the same way, how do we actually dispatch a planned order? So for that, let me go to CM25 again, choose my profile, and then execute with the work center assembly. Yeah, so now these orders like 6350, 6351, 6352, all these are my planned orders. I can evaluate that with my MD04. So here we can see 6350, 51, 52, 53, so on. So I choose, let's say we will dispatch the planned order 6350, and we can see that it has a capacity in the week of 44, right? So 44, it basically shows with the date. Let me go into it. So the first operation is of 31/10/2023. So now I'm going to select this and then click on dispatch. Okay. So now the dispatch has been carried out successfully, and we can see it over here. Let me just zoom in. Okay, 6350 is dispatched. Let me dispatch 6351. I selected it and then dispatch. So 6351 is also moved, so I can see that over here. When these areas are actually too tiny, or it can be elaborated if we have a lead time. If we have more lead time. So because of that, I'm not able to actually select that. So let's say I would like to, when I'm not able to pick it, let me see if I can zoom it more. Yes, now I can pick it. So here I have selected that box, and now I'm moving into week 45. Yeah, so now I moved it to week 45 and we have a log. So I'm going to select the log and see what is updated. Yeah, so the plan order number 6351, it has been changed to 8/11/2023. Okay, so let me go back to MD04. So 6351, it was initially the 30th, the 31st of October. So now if I refresh, sorry, I have to save the CM25 first. I click on save and get back to MD04, do a refresh. So now we can see the 6351 and 6350 both have been rescheduled and dispatched as well. So here we see two asterisks in the suffix of the planned order, which means that yeah, the capacity has been actually dispatched. So sorry. So that is the reason we see those two asterisks or the star marks saying that the capacity has been manually dispatched. Okay. Yeah. So now if I just go into the details of it, or maybe convert it into a production order. So we could see the new dates updated, the start and the end date based on the dispatch sequence that we just executed. And even, the system status, it gets updated as dispatched or scheduled, though we update or maybe dispatch the planned order. Why? Because we are using the same planned order to be converted into the production order. Okay. So now to look at the configuration settings for the capacity leveling. So all we need is to go to the production scheduling profile. So here it is the production order. So I'm going to OPKP and let me choose the production scheduling profile. So this one. So in this production scheduling profile for the capacity planning, we are using the overall profile of the SAP SFC G005. So we can actually use the same profile while selecting the CM25 profile as well. So this is what we used here. And the other thing is to go to the configuration. Let me go to SPRO. Go to production, capacity requirements planning, operations, scheduling, and then you have scheduling parameters for the production order, IBM1. So here we also assign in the detailed scheduling tab under the specify scheduling parameters to generate the capacity requirements and also to enable this particular scheduling activity possible with the combination of the plant and the order type. And here make sure that you have the option updated with the adjust dates, because if in case you do not have this option to adjust the basic dates, and maybe you have the other options like do not adjust the basic dates, so in that case the whenever the scheduling happens for one of the operations in the production order, so the subsequent operations will not be updated, right? Why? Because the scheduling should happen based on the end date of the previous operation, so that the start date of the subsequent operation will be calculated. So if I go into this production order, let's uh, open the production order. So here in the production order, if we go into the operations, so here we can see that the start date is 13/11 and the end date is 16/11. And again, for the second operation, we see the start date as 17/11 and end date as 27/11. So the end date of the operation 20 is basically the start date of operation 30, or maybe the next available time or day, right? So if you do not use this option as the adjustment of the basic dates, so whenever we basically dispatch or maybe change the schedule of the first operation, the subsequent operations after the dispatched operation, so those dates will not be adjusted automatically, right? So let's say you have the start date as 13 and the end date as 16, and then the second operation is starting from 16 and ends on 17th. So when you dispatch the first operation, which has the end date of 17, and now you moved it to a later date into the future. So let's say after the dispatch, you have the started as 2511 and the end as 2611. But if you do not use this option here, if you do not set this adjust the basic dates, then what happens is that the subsequent operations like operation 20, it will still have the same date as 17/11/2023, which is incorrect as part of the schedule, right? So the dates of the subsequent operations should be adjusted automatically based on the end dates of our previous operation. So for that, you should make sure that you have this option adjust dates under the scheduling parameters of the order type and the plant combination. Okay, and coming to the scheduling type, these are the default values based on the plant and the material and the order type combination. What should be the default scheduling type whenever we create a production order? So here it is always as the backward scheduling, right? So if you want to always have it as a forward scheduling, then you can assign that over here. Or maybe if you need a current date scheduling or maybe a forwards in time or a backwards in time, you can assign those default values in this particular configuration step. So that's how the capacity leveling and the capacity planning works.